In the case of grafting, the scion and the stalk take considerable time to unite. Once that is done, one has to wait for another few months for the growth of new shoots. Do you know how we can avoid this? There is another technique called as layering, which helps plants to reproduce quickly. What exactly is this process of layering? How does this process work? There are two types of layering which can be done. Let's look at the first one. The lowest branch of the plant is bent in this particular manner. A small part of it is buried in the soil. The plant branch is not cut but remains connected to the main part. This will ensure that the part gets nutrition from the main plant. This half-buried plant branch is called as a layer. What do you think happens to the buried portion of the plant? It begins to grow adventitious roots and gets its own nutrition from the soil. After a few days, this part can be cut from the main plant and we have an independent new plant. Don't you think this is interesting? The one we just studied is called as mound layering. This mound layering helps plants which have branches close to the soil and can be easily bent. But what about plants which cannot be bent in such a manner? For such plants, do we have any alternatives? Yes, of course we do. We use an alternative technique used as air layering. Yes, you heard me right, air layering. How is this process carried out? Well, an incision is made on a part of the branch and the inner tissues are exposed. This exposed part is then covered with moss or cotton and tied with a polythene bag. On a branch above it, an earthen pot is tied with a rope moving from its base to the cutting. The rope is wound round the cut portion and water, when poured into the earthen pot, slowly trickles down to the cutting. Within a few days' time, adventitious roots grow onto this cut portion of the plant. Now what would we do with such a part? Well, we cut that part and then plant it into the soil. The roots will now find nutrition from the soil and a new plant will grow in its place. Plants like pomegranates and lychee are grown in this manner. Isn't this a very interesting method of plant propagation? These methods help to grow genetically similar plants. The only drawback of such plants would be the absence of genetic variations. This would endanger the life of such plants whenever the environment may undergo a drastic change. In our next lesson, we will study the last method of asexual reproduction. Do watch our video.